Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Unhinged podcast. I'm Zesty Viking, followed here today with my lovely host, Where's Wolfie? And Wolfie, we got a little bit of a special day for you, isn't it? Why don't you go ahead and tell us?
And tell you about how we have jpanderson from rabbitjunk. He's got the new CD coming out right around the corner. So this is being filmed on Thursday. CD comes out on Friday. You will be watching this on Monday. I just totally told Zesty about, that I'm a huge fan of rabbitjunk. And instead of him throwing me under the bus, I preempted that because we like to screw with each other in all the little projects we have, and showed my rabbitjunk tattoo so he couldn't call me out as a fanboy.
And I don't even have a rabbitjunk tattoo. You know what, man? That's an injustice. I'm going to have to go out tonight and get my rabbitjunk tattoo. I can't believe I don't have one. So thanks for writing me there, man. You're correcting me.
Now I'm throwing him under the bus because I'm trying to throw you.
Let's just all throw each other under the bus.
Now that we've all been run over by the bus, maybe perhaps,
So the new album is called Apocalypse for Beginners, correct?
That is. It's coming out tomorrow. This is the day before release. I'm going to be super honest. I'm nervous. I am. I'm not even going to pretend to be like calm about it. I'm nervous. I've never been nervous like this before a CD release. There's something really special about this album. I think I really went for it with this record. It was a no compromises. I can still, of course, hear all the places that I'd like to improve. But I mean, in terms of, was this JP's 100% best effort that could have possibly happened in the period that I had? Yes. Which means that if it doesn't do well, or people don't like it, or something, I mean, it's like I'm really burying myself with this one. And I think that there's always, this is just the hardest I've ever worked on record. I've never tried this hard, And so, in terms of like the songwriting, the vocals, the guitar playing, all the tones, all the mixing, I'm doing all of that myself. I have a home studio in a little garage. I'm still using gear from 2005.
Wow. And then rabbitjunk was, 2006 is when rabbitjunk actually started, or is it 04?
So I first started recording what was meant to be a demo in 2003 that I ended up turning into the first rabbitjunk album. But I mean, if you listen to the sound quality, I mean, it was obviously intended to be re-recorded, right? But I think that for some reason 2004, the feedback I kept getting is that people really liked the fact that it sounded super dirty in garage, and they were digging it. And people were just saying, you should just don't re-record it, because you're gonna fuck it up if you re-record it. It sounds real, so just put it out, And so I put it out, and that was the first rabbitjunk album. And I have updated my studio since then, but just one time.
What is it like to be independent rather than having a pressure of a studio behind you, or a label behind you, I should say?
Well, it's something that I've chosen, right? So lots of people over the years have come to rabbitjunk offering a label deal. And most of those label deals were just they clearly weren't going to work out for me financially. They might have resulted in me being, having more, status and prestige, right? But financially, they were always going to be, a loss for me. And I think that when labels are coming to me, essentially what they're saying is, we can make you a little bit more famous, but we're going to take most of your money in return. And I always said, you know what? I can't do that. People depend on me. So I've turned down a number of offers, and when I do that, I'm taking on a lot of work. I'm gonna write all the songs, I'm gonna record them, I'm gonna mix them, I'm gonna master them. The only thing I don't do in rabbitjunk is the art. I contract that out to talented artists, I find. So that also means that when people order merch, I'm taking it to the post office. That is me sticking the label on. I'm putting it in the package.
The other day.
Yeah, everything. I mean, it means I take on everything, and that's a lot of work. However, I also don't pay anybody out, and so I essentially I've chosen to be more obscure, more underground. But I know that I'm bringing in a better income than most musicians at my level. I know for a fact, because most musicians at my level are working with a label, and that label's taking at least 50% of everything that comes in for that band, if not more. 50% would actually be a pretty favorable deal for most musicians. So this is a golden age. I want people to understand this is a really special time in the music business. because of streaming. It's because of these big evil corporations like Spotify. There's lots of reasons to criticize Spotify, but the fact is that Spotify gives me access to hundreds of thousands of fans all around the world, and they give me a consistent paycheck every month. It's the first time in my life as a musician that it feels like a regular job. Like, oh yeah, there's my Spotify check.
And it looks like your Spotify
really matters.
It looks like your Spotify is blowing up. I've paid attention. I've seen you post your things on there. It's crazy. I don't know if some of the songs that were like the top, I'm like, but you guys got to dig a little bit deeper for what's on there. I mean, you're picking good songs.
Yeah, no, it's gotten big. You know that we're in a little bit of a Spotify slump right now because of the war in Ukraine. I'll explain real quick. So, the biggest fan base for rabbitjunk is in the United States, but the second biggest was Russia. And actually my number one and number two cities for a while was Moscow and St. Petersburg, like just a ton of Russian fans. The Russian music scene is really into bands like rabbitjunk, heavy but weird, right? The Russians are really into that. And when the Ukraine war started, companies started pulling out of Russia, sanctions were placed on Russia. I basically lost access to like 50,000 fans overnight, like boom.
Wow.
I got contacted by, Spotify Russia just disappeared. So that was all those fans gone. Yandex is the like Google of Russia. And they also host and stream rabbitjunk music. And I got an email from one of the people at Yandex saying, oh, this is unfortunate. We don't really know how to get around this, but we're not allowed to pay you because of sanctions. We're going to hang on to your check.
Oh my God.
So hopefully
you guys are going to go spend my check at the bar. I get it. I'm never going to see that money ever, And so,
oh my.
So actually, it's weird, like world events can impact something like your little underground industrial metal music career,
Because you have such a unique name. How did you come across a name like rabbitjunk? How did that come about?
Okay, well, naming bands is hard.
Of course.
It's just a really hard thing to do. And I wanted a name that didn't cue any sort of genre or like scene association. I wanted something that really people look at the name and be like, I have no idea what the fuck that means or what kind of music that's going to be. Like, no idea. Because there's something about the, having the name guide the trajectory of the project that I didn't like. You got to have a name as a band, but I didn't want the name to be, the guiding principle of the band. So I mean, like if I had like a name with numbers in it, that's going to cue as very kind of like metal, right? If it's like some sort of like really morbid name, and there's nothing wrong with having a name like that. I just felt like, rabbitjunk is a big exploration for me. I don't know where it's going, So I had run across the term rabbitjunk from two places. There was like an anime where actually one of the songs in the anime is called Run Rabbitjunk, and then I further found out that they borrowed that from some anonymous poem from the 1940s. We're pretty sure it's a drug reference. Pretty sure it's someone referencing doing speed and heroin at the same time, like an early term for a speedball, a rabbitjunk.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Something like that. And that's not what the name means to me, but I saw it and I was like, that is such a weird term. And I just said, you know what? I'm just gonna go with that. It doesn't like it's so bizarre. I have no idea what it means. Like I'm gonna learn what that means in 20 years, something like that. Unfortunately, I did not understand at the time that junk was becoming a synonym for genitalia.
Okay.
Didn't fucking see it coming, man. I didn't see it coming. I don't know. I just was living in a part of the country where people were not being like, whoa, let's, that guy's got great junk or whatever. I don't know. And now I have to live with the fact that most people think that I intended my band to mean bunny penis. I have to live with that fact every fucking day. People come up to me and they're like, oh, your name's so funny. Yeah, Bunny Dick. I'm like, no, man. But here we are, stuck with it now. Can't do anything about it.
Well, I am a fan, dude. Especially what was that? The cover.
Metro by Berlin.
Yes, Metro. Holy crap! What do you use to produce? Because it has a very well produced sound.
Thank you very much. And I think that that's one thing I spent so much time on this new record, getting it to sound hopefully as good as anything that you're going to get from any of the labels in this genre sphere, you know? So if it's like Metropolis or Fixed or something like that, I was really listening to what they're doing, saying my tracks have to be as clear, as loud, as wide, as hard hitting as any of these people, no compromise. And so, I mean, I spent a ton of time, so I hope you hear the difference. Now, what am I using? I am using, just for the gear nerds out there, I'll keep it short because I know we're not all gear nerds, but for the gear nerds out there, I'm using Pro Tools 8. That is from about 2009.
Yeah.
I am using nothing but stock plugins, except for mastering. I'm just using a plugin called Ozone 7 that costs a couple $100.
Mm-hmm. I know Ozone.
I have an OK guitar, use a 7-string Schecter, you know, one of the $500 models, nothing special there. I'm just going in through a DI straight into my computer. Everything else is just plugins. You know, my mic, I have a $150 mic. I don't, you know, it's just in a garage. You know, I have some soundproofing up. That's it. I mean, it's the most stripped down system that you could possibly have. Like nothing fancy. And that's just been because I've had to make hard choices over the years. You know, if I got some extra money, it's like, well, I could go buy some fancy piece of gear, or I could go buy my kids clothes.
Bro, I am beyond blown away right now. Like, cause okay, the fact that you're using Pro Tools 8.
There you go.
Sorry, words hard, but
I know.
Imagine
for all of us, man.
and then like, okay, so you said you use a Schecter, like this is just bullshitting right here. What was it?
Isn't it all?
Is it Omen? Is it a Schecter Omen?
Oh, I mean, I think so. Yeah, it's the 7-string. Like, I'm not exactly sure what it is. And so, one of my big things when I took this job at SDSU, you know, and I was like, you know what I'm going to do to reward myself? I'm going to get myself a proper guitar. I want the Schecter, the Keith Merrow. Do you know that 7-string? And whatever, it's a $2,000 model, right? And I was like, I'm gonna buy myself that fucking guitar when those university paychecks start rolling in. And then those university paychecks started rolling in, and I quickly realized I'm never buying that guitar. I'm never gonna get it, man.
Well, hey, you know what? Never say never.
Well, I have Denature. I have Bodies, of course, and then Love Is Hell, which is currently taking over my favorite because that haunting. Female vocals in the background, and then that fucking guitar on that, man, is just insane. And that song is such a roller coaster, and actually it's kind of important in my life right now because reading over the lyrics and reading your little note on it, I'm like, yes, I understand this completely. This is where I'm in life in dealing with my own emotions, and it was just fucking, I'm like, I need this in my life. Now I also noticed with, like, you've always had remixes coming out.
Yep, and actually, I got a remix of Love Is Hell coming out probably in January. I'm just kind of sitting on it. I had one of the artists from Fixed Records do a remix, so I just want to put that out there. But yes, I always try and have remixes, try and have new takes on these songs. Yeah.
And I'm excited. I'm ready for the new. We went over the little preview. We listened to that, but I do already have those 3 songs, so I'm like, let's go. This can come out now and
sweet. I know. Oh my God.
Get him money directly, and it'll be fantastic because that's the way it should be. But it's those songs really hit hard. I mean, you would never know that this is out of someone's garage.
That sounds amazing. Like that's amazing to hear. That's amazing to hear. Now, the thing is that, you know, most fans, they don't give a shit about production. They don't care. I mean, they care about how a song makes them feel. So that's the next dimension. You know, did I get that part of the album right? Because I mean, the album is. All rabbitjunk albums are simultaneously about, you know, what's happening in society and what's happening in myself and the parallels between those two things. Every single time, right? So it's always a social commentary, a vague, super vague social commentary, and always like JP coping with, you know, my inner world, which is fucking rocky. And you listen, and like it's like Love Is Hell, for instance. I mean, like that song is just. There's no metaphor there. I mean, I mean it. Like, love is hell, dude. It is so hard. It's so hard to get right. It's so hard to get right in any direction. Love yourself, love other people. Like, you know, it's like this. It's like our greatest challenge or something, you know. And it's just it is. I think it's worthwhile, but it's also fucking hellish, man. You know what I mean? Like, if there's an option to live without love. You know, if that was really possible for human beings, I might be like, okay, I'm gonna give that a try because this is fucking hard. You know, like, whew.
My friend Wolfie here, he's like, you gotta listen. I'm like, all right, man, I'll check it out. And I'm like, I think I like this, dude. I don't know. I think I like this a lot.
You know the moments that I like the most is like, you know, somebody's checking out rabbitjunk for the first time and they don't want to like it. They're kind of like, you know, they're getting a little uncomfortable and they're like, I don't know. And it's like, and what I'm doing is I'm pulling them over to the dark side. You know, I'm like, you're gonna like this music that you like, especially like really hardcore metal fans, and they're like,
they're the best.
Oh yeah, before you know it,
you know,
before you know it,
I'm
you're
not gonna
sitting next
listen
to
to this like, you know, techno ravey shit. That's fucking bullshit music, right? You know, and then they're like, oh, I'm getting pulled over, and it's like I love that like corrupting thing.
Yeah, because then the next thing you know, you're sitting next to that person at the stoplight, and they're sitting there at the driver's side or driver, you know, and they got glow sticks in their hands going.
Hey, we're not talking about last Friday night here, all right?
All right, yeah. That never happened. Sorry. Sorry.
Let's pivot as quick away from that bad memory as we can.
I made bad choices, but the music's not one of them. Sorry, this is I'm having a lot of fun right now. I don't mean any disrespect. This is
one
fun.
Question we've been asking a couple of the interviews we did is a little bit more of a fun question. 3 vocalists, your top 3 vocalists. Doesn't matter what genre, what thing. Who is JP? Just every time he hears him is like, I wish I could sing like that. That voice is just absolutely insane.
Oh man, you know, that's a really interesting question for me because my favorite vocalists are all women. So I don't know what's going on with guys and vocals, but they rarely hook me. You know, and that's weird because I'm a male vocalist.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Even though I mean, there are some times where I'm like, you know, I just, you know, I appreciate like a really well done metal scream and roar, you know, sometimes I hear it, but in general, you know, that's a very limited sort of emotional range that you can express through like roar, you know, even though but it's satisfying. So but you know, vocalists that are like super inspirational to me, you know, yeah, like Blondie.
Okay. Deborah Harry. Yeah.
Joan Jett. You know, what's her face from Fleetwood Mac?
Grace. No.
Yeah, you know her. We don't have to name her. What if she gets named enough? She's plenty famous. We can forget her. We can forget her for now. She'll survive. Some newer pop vocalists like Robin. You know, I can just jam the fuck out of Robin. And I like to like, you know, like go to the dance club and jam out to Robin, but jam out like I'm at a metal show. So like there's a pit, you know, like I'm like, Robin, so good. Yeah, you know, yeah, those are the 4 that come to mind. So where I'm just, I don't know if it's I wish I could sing like them, but but wouldn't it be cool if I could bring to the table all of that like great brutal masculinity of metal, and also somehow bring some of that at the same time? And I mean, that would be that. You know, you could tell a story that speaks to everybody if you could do that. You know what I mean? So yeah. I think it's like that. So maybe that's the way that they're inspiring. And I think that was kind of on my mind when I was doing this newest record. I did vocals that were super uncomfortable. Like I felt horribly uncomfortable doing the vocals because they felt so pop. Like on Love Is Hell, like, you know,
yeah.
I was not comfortable doing those vocals. I was way outside my comfort zone, you know, because that stuff was like, I was like, oh man, this just is like, this sounds like Rick Astley. You know, or something like that. You know, it does, man. It sounds like fucking Rick Astley.
Okay, I'm sorry. The reason we got to stop here for a second. Zesty, if you look at Zesty's face, Zesty absolutely hates Never Gonna Give You Up. On his Twitch stream, he's got they have channel repoint teams. I don't know how much you are on Twitch or whatnot. And it is to play that song, and it puts him in the center of the scene with Never Gonna Give It Up, and over there like, why do you hate me, in a thought bubble above his head. So, and actually I screwed with him on stream. I found a TikTok where it's the guy who starts talking about defense and dancing, and it kicks into that, and he watched it right on stream and just flushed. And like, I hate you, Wolfie.
Hey, Zesty, can I affirm you for a second, my man? That song is a fucking atrocity. We all know it. So don't just because I'm comparing my own vocals to that total villain. of Rick Astley's an evil man. You know, just because but you see, I'm doing some self-critique here, man. I'm not trying to tell you that Rick Astley.
No, you're
that
good,
song is
man.
an abomination. It is. So I'm affirming you.
It's okay.
Yes, no.
It's okay.
The thing is that, you know, I kept hearing. I didn't mean to sound like Rick Astley, but I just kept hearing I'm like, I want to have really pop vocals and really heavy vocals mashed together, but more than just what something like Fear Factory's done, where it's pretty safe, clean vocals. If you think about it, right?
Yeah.
You know, they're pretty safe, right? They're not very emotional. They're very disassociated. So it's just like, I'm not really feeling anything, and then I'm back to feeling metal, roar, you know. I was like, I'm gonna try and actually sing these songs and feel shit that hurts to feel, and then also scream at the same time. I mean, it was like twisting me up inside.
Hey, one last thing. Let's talk about Blood real quick.
Okay.
Yes, there you go.
I don't want to forget that, because that song, you know, being a parent,
yeah,
having kids that, you know, had to spend time in the NICU, but being very excited and everything, like that song was extremely helpful personally when that was happening, and just being so overjoyed to be a dad, but having two kids that were born early, had issues, were in the NICU, you know, it helped a lot during that time. So I'm extremely grateful for that song. Is that enough fanboying for you, Zesty? You can totally call me out later.
Yeah.
No, because you know what? You know, I wish I had heard this song sooner, because that was one of the songs that pulled me in. Like, bro, I just the scream right off the bat. I was like, "Oh, badass!" And then I'm just sitting there jamming. That at one point I wasn't listening to the lyrics. I was just like, "Wow!" And then I went back. So I mean, yeah, no. I wish I knew of rabbitjunk sooner, but I'm glad to be a part of it now.
That track is a musical manifestation of pure trauma. That is just a fully traumatized human being going into a studio. I made that song super quick. I didn't second guess a single lyric or single riff. That just poured out of me. I screamed so hard I was coughing up blood. I was bawling. It was like, you know, I mean, it was all of that. But that's what I needed to do after this experience I had, you know, with my first kid. My wife Jen, who's, you know, some girl also in the band, right? You know, she's she's like, hey, it's time for me to give birth, and we were going to do it at home. We had a midwife, and the midwife came along, and everything was going pretty well until the midwife suddenly said, when Jen's really close to, you know, the actual kind of pushing part, right? You know, the midwife's like, hey, this baby's breech, and the cord is around your baby's neck, you know. So this is a real crisis situation. This is an emergency for both the mother and the child. We have to move very quickly. And it was decided we moved Jen to, we had the midwife drive. So we moved Jen and myself to the midwife's car. We thought that was going to be quicker than calling an ambulance. And then we got stuck in traffic. We got stuck in Seattle traffic, and I've got, you know, I don't know if my you know, I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I mean, like the weight of this whole situation is starting to pile on me, and I think in the moment I started realizing just how ancient the sort of fear, the particular fear that I was having is in our species. You know, I was thinking to myself, oh, this is, you know, that millions and millions of other human beings have been in this exact same situation, you know, where there could, there could be a loss of a child and a mother. This is and I found myself kind of praying in also a very like ancient way. I thought, God, this has got to be the oldest prayer on earth. You know, whatever is out there, please protect my child and my loved one, my wife. You know, like it's just so, you know, we're stuck in traffic, and I mean, it was just it was incredibly grueling. We eventually do make it to the hospital. You know, the emergency room people take one look at the situation, and I mean, they moved immediately. But the thing is, they didn't let me go in to be with Jen while they sliced her open and got the baby out. What they did is they put me in a side room, and the side room had a door and it had a little window, and all I could see was Jen's hand and piles and piles and piles of bloody rags. You know, that's all I could see. So if you look back at the lyrics, you know what I mean? They're actually, I'm being really literal, you know what I mean? Like, and her, you know, she was under anesthetic, and nobody was there to talk to me and tell me what had happened. I mean, I was like actually yelling for people. I'm like, hey, can I get some info? And people were ignoring me.
Hello.
Yeah, and then also, you know, like these are hospital staff, and when you're, you know, they see some like, you know, angry tattooed guy, they assume like, oh, we're gonna have to get security. It doesn't help being a little bit brown, you know. I'm not saying that's a big factor; it just doesn't fucking help, you know what I mean, for these people, you know. So they're also, instead of giving me information, they were being like, "Sir, we're gonna have to, you know, we're gonna call the police, or we're gonna eject you." It was a terrible, terrible situation. But the good news is, you know, is that you know, my first kid was delivered successfully through a cesarean. Jen recovered really quickly. Everything was fine. I had to go home and process what had happened, and that's why there's a song called Blood.
I'm not gonna lie. At some point, I was beginning to get anxiety.
Right.
I was, when the moment you said there was traffic, I just was like, oh fuck, like telling the story. There's. I got scared.
Yeah.
I got scared.
Yeah, it was bad. I mean, there's you know, there's a lot of rabbitjunk songs that are drawn from, you know, real moments of tragedy. I lost a sister to cancer in 2013. That spurred. There's a lot of songs that refer to my sister, but they just do it in a way that's. I know they're referring to my sister, but when other people listen to it, it can refer. It's open to interpretation. The lyrics can belong to them. You know what I mean? I don't like lyrics that just belong to me. Like, oh, this is just my story. You know, I like to write lyrics where it's like, obviously, you know, I'm talking about feelings. I hope people can connect to those emotions, but also personalize the lyrics for themselves. That's why I like to do vague lyrics. So, but yeah, you know, I lost my sister to cancer in 2013. You know, I lost my dad to Parkinson's, which is a really bad way to go. You know, takes a long time. It's awful, right? You know, that was 2018. You know, and that again, a lot of songs came out of that. So if you're really interested in JP's personal tragedies, you know what I mean? If you poke through those lyrics, you'll be like, oh, I see. Well, this guy is fucked up, and you'd be right. Yeah. You know, I hope this guy's in therapy. You know, yes, I hope he is also in therapy. Because there's a lot for him to unpack here. You know.
Can you would you kindly tell us about the release and where we will find it?
Yeah, okay, here's all the pertinent info. So the name of the record is Apocalypse for Beginners. It's available for digital download, CD, and vinyl at our Bandcamp, which is just under rabbitjunk.com. You don't have to remember any of the Bandcamp part of it. You just go to rabbitjunk.com. All of the merch is going to be there. We also have 3 new posters, 2 new shirts, all becoming available.
Well, JP, thank you so much for your time. And those of you that are not listening to rabbitjunk, get your ass on that right now. I guarantee you're going to love it. Thank you for listening to Unhinged Podcast. I'm Zesty Viking. This is JP and my lovely co-host. Where's Wolfie?
Making me blush always. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on. This was awesome,
Absolutely.
you guys.
And if you guys aren't following, do me a favor. Take your face, smash against that subscribe button, leave a comment. Tell us what you want to hear more. Tell us what your favorite track is off the album.